Going through the discount rate, which is an interest rate the Federal Reserve will charge private banks when private banks want to borrow from the Fed. So this is another tool for controlling the money supply. So a private bank can borrow directly from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve isn't going to give up its money for free, right? So the Federal Reserve will charge those private banks a interest rate, and that interest rate is referred to as the discount rate. So the higher the discount rate, the less likely the private banks are to go and borrow from the Federal Reserve. If the Fed lowers the discount rate, the private banks are more likely to go there. So a low discount rate will usually increase money supply, whereas raising the discount rate, having a higher interest rate for private banks to get money from the Fed, will cause them to be less likely to go there and pull out money from the Federal Reserve. One note on the discount rate in private banks borrowing from the Federal Reserve. This isn't how it's supposed to be typically done. The Fed is supposed to be a lender of last resort. Typically, private banks are supposed to borrow money from other private banks if they're short on reserves. So this is kind of more of an emergency measure, but it is one way or one tool that the Federal Reserve has to influence the amount of money in the overall economy.